Countdown is over and we are live. Welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. I got a few housekeeping things out of the way. The Alberta Technology Symposium is in 3 weeks. Tickets are available. We are going to be bringing together some of the top thought leaders in Alberta's tech ecosystem, and it is probably one of the best networking events of the season. Again, sharing knowledge and stories is why I started this, and it has been way too long to have Zack on. And you know what? We had a 3-hour car ride the other day going up to the TNT finale, which was fantastic. We should have carpooled, telling it like it is.
We should have. I'll just quickly plug too. I was at the Alberta Technology Symposium last year. I had a great time. Unfortunately, I'll be away this year on holiday, but highly recommend. Yeah, and the car ride, yeah, that would have been just a lot easier use of time. 2 birds with 1 stone.
We would have had to get Neil involved. I mean, he just sat in the back seat. He's like, he delegated it. He was so quiet. I was like, Neil, are you still here?
Yeah, well, he's really focused on doing a great job at Startup TNT, which he did, and you did as well.
Oh, he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, Startup TNT is one of the, again, when we're talking community, how it's brought the tech community together here in Alberta, the networking, and again, things that we're going to talk about today, because that is important. And this, you've been involved, you understand tech, you've learned tech. And I love the starting stories of companies. So please share why you started Careers in Technology and Innovation.
Yeah, certainly. So if anyone's listening here and don't know me, I'm Zachary Novak, the founder of Careers in Technology and Innovation. Jade says I know tech, but 5 years ago, I really didn't know anything about tech. I was a investment banker, and I luckily got out of investment banking and took a corporate job. And the gift of that was working less hours. So instead of working 80, 100-hour weeks, I worked 40 to 50-hour weeks. And I was like, oh man, I just really need to get out of corporate. I want to do something more entrepreneurial. And everywhere I looked was tech. And I was pretty disappointed about this because I wasn't a tech person. But then I came to a realization that technology is really about empowering people. And that got me excited. And I took a leap. I quit my job, did a coding boot camp, and was just trying to figure out, how I could find my place in tech, which really is kind of the story of a lot of our members at City. I did take a job as a product manager. I was focused on 2 problems. How do we get people to enjoy work, and how do we get people to meet the right person at the right time? And essentially all my roles since then, working as a product manager, working as a community manager, and City is part of those problems. When I was a product manager, we had this amazing user group community. And that just got me to know more about building online communities as a career, and decided to go that path. And at the same time, like anyone, we really are advocates in our community about having projects and side projects. I did this post on LinkedIn sharing my story, telling people what was going on in Calgary, and asking if people wanted help. And I had over 150 people message me, definitely over 100, but I think it was over 150. And I did 18 back-to-back meetings December 23rd, 2020 to try and help these people, and knew I couldn't help them one-on-one. So we spun up a kind of side community, which was a project for me to learn more about community, as well as taking my full-time job in community. So it was like a way to double down on my learning. And then we just got started, and we got a bunch of people that worked in tech, and people are trying to get into tech. We spun up a Slack channel, and we just met every Wednesday for a year and a half, 7 to 9 online during the pandemic. And we did an hour of content and an hour of networking. And that is really the origin story of what City is. And as a business, City, really a year and a half in, we decided to move it from kind of a free meetup into a business.
And we kind of had a little small talk about this before. When do you start a company? When are you an entrepreneur? Am I a tech company? Things along those lines. And our companies are very similar. Like we work in tech, we help tech. We obviously, you more so than I do, and what we do at Peer Guidance. But I think that is, when I was looking for something like this, 7, 8, 9 years ago, there was a gap in the ecosystem. And I think you've also found something that really, lends a little more to, that helping side, that bringing people together, not just saying that, oh my goodness, we're going to place somebody in a job or things along those lines. Let's talk about it. Let's collaborate about it. So, about the tech jobs in Calgary, let's just touch on base a little bit more about that, and what you have seen in the last little bit about, the strategies to help finding people jobs in tech.
Yeah, certainly. When I did my coding boot camp, I didn't even know about like the landscape and the roles, and I think it has evolved quite a bit. But that's part of the reason that we created City is to help people get direction. And I think that really is, let me talk a little bit about strategies first, I think, and then let me talk a little bit about the market after that. Like direction is the key starting point, and it really starts with self-awareness. And we have a course that's building a career compass. And then how does that relate to occupational profiles of the role? We see a lot of people that are trying to pivot into tech, focus on many roles instead of being a solution for one role and really understanding where they fit. So that's like the industry knowledge and self-awareness. Once you have a direction, we really focus on three things. Most people come to us and they're applying online. They're applying for jobs, they're taking credentials and courses, and yes, self-awareness and maybe a course to build some foundation is great. But we really do think it's about personal brand projects and networking. And essentially, we do events and discussion forums and build community around those things. Personal brand is all about really, again, understanding yourself, but packaging yourself as a solution and standing for something. When you go into an interview, if you can answer these three things in a meaningful way, that your skills and strengths align with the responsibilities of the role, that your personal values match the cultural values of that organization, and the mission of that organization brings out your purpose. So again, skills, values, purpose aligned with the organization. If you can say all those things, you'll likely get that role. The key is understanding what your strengths, values, and purpose is, and understanding the role in that organization, the culture, and the mission. So that's what you're trying to align around personal brand, as well as I just heard this great analogy or this framework called PI, which is performance, image, and exposure. And most people over-index to performance. This is how I do my job. These are the credentials. But really in career success, it's image and exposure that's much more important. How people perceive you and how many know you. And that kind of moves into networking. We build a community where people are willing to help each other, but it has to go beyond that. But I just tell people you should meet 100 people in tech within 100 days. So one person a day, and really focus on building that relationship and learning from that person versus getting a job. And then lastly is projects. And projects can be different for different people. So if you're trying to become a software developer and you're like an engineer trying to pivot in, you should be building applications. But if you are an immigrant trying to break into tech in Canada, you should be finding ways to mentor and advise and show that Canadian leadership experience, or build a blog or volunteer. Like projects are just ways to continue to develop your career. So again, personal brand, networking, projects. And we think that actually is the success formula once you find your jobs as well to be really successful. The most successful people in their careers, again, have a strong brand. They got great relationships and they're continuing to tribute to their industry and ecosystem outside of their work. From a market standpoint, like we'll talk about Calgary. Calgary's come a long way in the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it's exponential from here. We are seeing three kind of real colliding effects. I don't know if that's the right word, but one is we're starting to see a robust startup and scale up ecosystem where people are getting to post-product market fit financing, Series A, Series Bs, which is starting to create jobs as well as a lot of startups. We're seeing the traditional industries build large digital teams and do digital transformation. And we're seeing large multinationals move into Calgary for a host of reasons to build offices here. And that's just really, really great and robust for talent. So you have the opportunity to work in an entrepreneurial environment, or do you want to work for a multinational, or do you want to stay in your industry and work in a digital team? All of those things are growing kind of exponentially, and that's just causing really strong demand on talent.
And I agree with all that, but there's a couple things I want to unpack there. The first one is that when you said you weren't involved in the tech industry, and neither was I when I came in, and it took me a few years to find a few things, and obviously I think created something of value. And obviously you did that too. You came in, so do you think as a kind of, I don't want to say as an outsider but somebody that's new to the ecosystem was able to have you look at it at a different lens, a different perspective?
Yeah, we use that word. I talk about cities, a place for outsiders and newcomers. From a different perspective, I don't know from a different perspective, but the one thing I would say, if I can go back 5 years, that I was really excited about, and I just did this kind of Western Canada road trip, and I'm like re-excited about this, but is the amount of innovation, creativity, open thinking, sharing of knowledge and resources that happen in the technology industry. I really do think it starts from the open source nature of software, where people are just like giving each other their code. It's just open. There's just like this open and collaborative environment, and that is just a great place to work. And essentially, you can focus on any problem with technology. So I don't know if that's an outsider lens, but that's what really got me excited. I think a combination of three things. One is realizing that it's not just about the tech, but it's about empowering people. Secondly is about the innovation and creativity. And then third is just how people collaborate together. And then lastly, less of a focus on me when I came in, but a lot of our members are really focused on this, the flexibility of working in an environment where you can work remote, work in different cities, just you're not constrained to one ecosystem or one place, and you're not constrained to a workplace. I think those are all really exciting benefits about joining technology.
No, absolutely. Yeah, maybe as an outsider is the wrong word, but I'm a simple Sasaski guy. You're a Manitoban, right? Like, I got simple words. But yeah, no, I do agree with that. And empowering, I mean, the and one of the reasons why our community is as strong it is because of the strength of founders. And it doesn't matter that, and there's from so many different walks of life that whether they created a problem because of something they saw in their current job, or they want a change and they want to be involved in the tech ecosystem, and this is how they're going to be becoming involved. And again, there's a lot of reasons. One of the, starting Founders Coffee, starting Telling It Like It Is, to share stories, to tell people, to inspire people. That's a lot of it. And when you say, engaging and building our ecosystem, our community is such an important, I think, advantage in in Alberta, and it's done such a great thing. So why don't we talk about that? How do you think that it has come in the last 5 years since you've been here? I have my view of it, and then where do you think it might go in the future, and how will that really strengthen how we're going to move forward on the world stage?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some foundational work that was done over 5 years ago, and I'm really thankful for those people that did it. In the last 5 years, I think volatile oil price has been uh, helpful to the technology sector. I don't know if that's the right word, but it has created a focus around people in Alberta that we need to create something new or innovate or think more future. And we kind of come together around that purpose. I do think the government has also been supportive over the last 5 years. We've had a change in policy changes, but generally both governments were overall supportive of the sector. And, Alberta Innovates and the funding coming from OCIF in Calgary, like that, these things aren't nearly as large and as well capitalized in other places of the country, including BC. I'm not as aware out east, but certainly on my trip, that was very evident. So you have government support, which is super helpful. You have people kind of coming together around trying to evolve and make a change. My dad is from Manitoba, but I am a true Albertan. And I think honestly, people could keep talking about the quality of life argument, and I think many of us feel like it's not enough. Like, yes, we have great quality of life here, but can we also have fulfilling careers? Can we have great companies? Like, it goes two ways. We talk a lot about people getting careers, but if there's no great companies to work at, it doesn't really work. So, and then there are supports around founders a lot more today, a lot more success stories, tons of events. I think, you know, what Platform's done in creating that space downtown and what Startup TNT's done, and there's just countless initiatives about bringing community together and moving in the right direction, and people are just willing to help. So I think going forward, I think we're just going to see a continued velocity of that. I think we're advantaged due to the government support, due to the cost of living, due to our downtown. I think we're going to continue to see all three trends of scales up, startups. I think we're going to see traditional businesses continue to build digital. And I think we're going to continue to see people create technology offices here. So I remember one of my first meetups I ever went in tech. It was the guy from, it was the CEO, I believe he's the CEO of this geospatial company. They give grants to geospatial. Maybe you know the name, Jade. But he said, he's like, oil and gas is here and technology is here. And more as we move forward, they're going to become two main industries in Calgary.
Yeah.
And he nailed it. And I think that's just, we're going to continue to see that trend.
I agree, and again, I mean, some of those programs that you mentioned, and they aren't around, even like in both neighboring provinces to us, right? There's no OCIF, there's no, and are they perfect? No, but the support that they give, not only from a money standpoint, but having the people in place to help them to give them advice or make an introduction to somebody that can help them, again, that community here is unlike anywhere in North America. And this is, I truly believe that, and I talk about it on this, on Telling It Like It Is all the time. And people like yourself, and again, for anybody that wants any more information about City, just click on careerintech.ca. It's in the comment section. You'll be able to find out more about what Zack and he is doing. So let's talk a little bit more about what you are doing. How does Jade Alberts, as a guy that wants to get into tech, become involved in your community, and what's that process, and what do I get?
Yeah. So we really help three to four groups. One is people that are in other industries that want to get into tech. And then there's like a asterisk to the second group of people that in their industries and they want to do a tech role in their industry. So it's some sort of career progression. We help a lot of immigrants that do come with tech experience. They're trying to get their first Canadian tech job. And then lastly, people that are in tech that are looking for a change. So generally, when people join City, they're looking for some sort of, we're using the words career progression now, but some sort of change. And we support them with that change through a supportive community. So the ways to engage, one is we do public events. We're doing one tomorrow, and we do events at Platform. But our core offering is an online community. It's a subscription. And essentially, what are you getting when you join that? First, yes, you're joining a community, which is an interconnected web of relationships. And we say this in all our onboarding calls. So we onboard our members and we tell them, this is a community that you're joining, but we do activities to support that community. So when you onboard, we have the onboarding call, and I do two things. I send some relevant resources based on your background, and I give you a list of 10 people within the community and maybe externally that you should meet. And we start facilitating those intros, so you start getting connection. Then it's okay, what is in the offering? So one is we have like the 210 members, 55 of them are advisors. These are people that work at technology companies for many years that want to help others get in. So you have access to those people. We do events. In March, we did 20. We're doing about 20 events a month, which include anything from how to do your resume and interviews to companies coming in and talking about their cultures and their roles, to speed networking and elevator pitches and roles in different functions. We're doing an event tonight on time management. So you get, full access to that. We have discussion forums where people are asking each other questions and supporting each other and sharing their celebrations and learnings. We have a project studio where people are working on projects together. We have a couple big projects going right now, a job tracker app. So there's an app being built by the community with advisors. And then we have an app that we built out of the hackathon that's continuing that actually is going to be part of the Alberta Catalyzer program. So these are members getting together and building technology. We also have our job board, which we're really intentional about. Every single job on that board someone has to be the hiring manager or refer you to the hiring manager. So we're facilitating those referrals. We do a weekly one-on-one coffee chat. If you subscribe, we connect you with someone else in the community. And we have a course that helps people with career direction that we're going to continue to build as well. And then we just have an industry events and news section. So if someone's going to an event, they can say, hey, come on with me. Our members in Calgary go to events, and there might be 10 or 15 other members there. So it's really easy to connect with them, connect with others, be introduced. But most importantly, they're part of a supportive community that's helping them, give them the confidence and courage to go on their career journey.
So I mean, that's a lot that they get for a small monthly subscription. So I mean, how many, like, I know you've been announcing some big, so it's time to brag, it's time to boast, it's time to
Okay.
shout from the mountaintop, Zach. Come on, here we go. So I know you've been making some really. We'll talk about your little your tour here in a bit, but share some of the successes that you've recently had over the last handful of months.
Well, we believe in jobs and promotions as our like North Star metric. So since we started, we've had 125, but we've had 25 this year. And our goal is to do 100 this year. So 125 over like 2.5 years, but we don't want to do 100 this year. We're right on track. And that's probably the most important metric. We now have like a business. So our recurring revenue right now is just over 3,200 a month, which from 0 6 months ago is a really important thing, because we want to build a sustainable community, and that allows us to reinvest. When we did go from free to paid, we're down to 80 members, and now we're at over 215 members. And we have really low churn, which I think is a really important metric for us. In 2023, we've had 4 people of 215 unsubscribe, which we think is a really great number for a consumer business. So that's kind of like the highlights. We've gotten some government funding for grants for events. So we've done some bigger events where we brought over 150 people together 3 times. And I think generally people are really happy in the community. They're feeling supported, they're feeling connected. And that goes with me as well, like, as someone that's really fulfilled in the work that I'm doing. Was that enough to boast?
we could, I mean, I could probably make you boast even more, but I mean,
Okay.
speaking of that, even Joanna, thanks for watching. And she just basically said here on LinkedIn that it's amazing. She's so proud to be an advisor, and the candidates that they've interviewed for Virtual Gurus have been top notch. So, I mean, I'll let Joanna's little post there, boast for you.
Yeah, what's great, Joanna joined when she already had pivoted into tech, when we met over LinkedIn, but she's been a great advisor. But a lot of our members become advisors once they land their job and they want to give back. So it's just like a super supportive group. And, I got back from this trip and I had 4 people message me over the weekend that they landed jobs. I feel like they're waiting until I was back to tell me.
Yeah.
And what's great about this is they all landed jobs in the field that they're interested in. 3 were recent immigrants, and so many immigrants get stuck in roles or jobs that aren't in their field. So we had an Android developer, a software developer, a talent acquisition recruiter, a product manager. But we do all the roles, and then they stick around, right? And they help other people get their jobs as well. So it'll be really interesting. Right now we're 215 members, but what's it going to look like when we're double that or triple that, and people are continuing to help each other? It's going to be, I remember we went bowling once, and one of our members is like, yeah, as soon as someone loses a job, we've never had a member get laid off or fired yet that's landed a job, but they're like, yeah, they'll just get snatched up immediately. Our members have 3 main characteristics that make them attractive. They're continuous learners. They're great team players. They want to help and support others, and they don't settle in their career. And those are the type of people, the grit, the team player attitude, the learning that you need in a technology organization.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that's, I think, and I'm sure that might happen one day, and that's okay. It's gonna happen, right? I
Well,
mean, it is part of life. I mean,
we were going with 0 churn for a while for the year, and I was like, oh, this could last forever, but eventually it happened too. So
well, I think it's a good lesson, right? I mean, the sooner you start charging for things, the sooner you start building the people that want to be there, the people that you want to have there, and free is nice, but I mean, we tell this to people, start from the get-go making people pay, right? That's where you're going to get the value. When people see value, those are the people that you want around, and it's important. And I mean, especially when you did this, we'll call it the Western Canadian Zach Novak World Tour. But like when you went to Winnipeg, you went up to Edmonton, you went to Vancouver, and I know this is gonna, let's talk about maybe touch a little bit on the differences, in there. But I want you to kind of then mold that into what's next for you guys.
Yeah, the trip is really meant to get to know these other ecosystems and build trust. We'd like to do the work that we're doing primarily in Calgary right now, although we have members in other areas across the country. And we know we need to build trust and get to know those ecosystems and have leadership, similar to what's happened with Startup TNT. From an ecosystem standpoint, like I'll just go west to east. Vancouver is just a really inspiring place. It's just like it's years ahead of us around the amount of companies, the amount of breadth of companies, the things that are happening, the optimism. Like when I talked to one person, it was all what he said is, we're not looking for ways to why we should say no. We're asking what needs to happen for us to say yes. And I think that's something that I think the prairies can take away, is just like, how do we continue to think about what needs to change to say yes, instead of, why this might be a bad investment or why this person might not be a great fit. I do think in a larger ecosystem, it's just a little bit more fragmented. They don't have the centralization or the government support. There's no like Platform Calgary. There's no the Innovate BC is much smaller, and they are mighty. So that is a little bit different. And then generally the commute of people, so it's harder to bring people together compared to like Calgary's got a really strong kind of event ecosystem where people are coming together. In Edmonton, I think, their strength is really around commercializing technology out of academics and the U of A and Amy with their grad students. So really, really strong at getting members into technology and commercializing those right out of post-grad. I think it's going to be really exciting that Edmonton Unlimited is opening their space in the next month or two. I think that'll provide, and I saw the space, I got a sneak peek. And it's pretty cool. And I think that's going to create the same type of things that are happening in Calgary, and it seems to be a missing link. And I think Amy is doing some cool things around talent, similar to what we're doing. So that's really inspiring. So I think a little bit slower out of the gate out of COVID, and partly because of this Edmonton Unlimited space, but exciting technologies being built there as well. And then in Winnipeg, I think what really impressed me, it's a tight-knit community, and they're starting to build these like community events like Startup TNT and Tech Thursdays. But there's just a lot of women in leadership there, and it seems like they're very represented in their technology community, which I thought was great. But overall, it just makes me excited about the breadth of opportunity for talent in Canada. I know as we go farther east, there'll be more. There's so many cool, exciting companies, and those themes that we talked about with Calgary, about people being willing to help and connect and support each other. And I think the more that we look holistically of how we can collaborate across ecosystem, the better for everyone.
I think that's a great answer. And again, I mean, these we can also learn from every one of these, from Vancouver, from what's going on in Winnipeg and Edmonton. We collaborate a lot with Edmonton. Even going up there, I figured, I'm going to meet a whole whack of new people. And then you realize, oh man, actually, I know a lot of the people here, which is cool, right? So it's like, we're all working together. We're all on the same team. We're all moving the tech world together.
Yeah, I think Startup TNT has set the pace a little bit about expanding in Saskatchewan and Manitoba and doing that successfully. And I think as creating a bridge, and then like going into Winnipeg and Edmonton, right? Like both Edmonton and Winnipeg was astronomically easier for me because of my relationships with the Startup TNT, you, Neil, Zack, Tim, and then Gloria in Winnipeg. All those people, and even in Vancouver. So already building a bridge. So we're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants a little bit. And we just want people to know, like, we're not here we want to expand the tech ecosystem. We want the newcomers and outsiders to find their place. But it does take time to build trust.
Oh, it sure does. And that's that's an important part, right? The trust side of things, and we talk about that a lot as well. And And I mean, the trust that you've started to build within Alberta, and then obviously, the goal of expanding it throughout Western Canada has been fun to watch, and very, very much needed to collaborate with all the tech jobs here that are being created because of the growth and where we want to go as a province.
Absolutely. It's exciting
Yeah.
times to be in tech, and tech's in every role. And I think it's just going to continue to snowball here. So, yeah, if anyone is listening to this and trying to find their way into tech, feel free to message me. That's what we focus on. Or if you're new to Canada and you're trying to find a way to, build those relationships and connect, we're a really strong referral culture in Canada. It's about, we like to refer who we know so we can help reduce some of those barriers to get connected. But going to events like Founders Coffee or Startup TNT or joining us are all ways to do that, because there's a supportive group. You gotta show up.
Show up and give back. I mean, it's for anybody that is watching this, giving back, coming out, showing up at Founders Coffee, at TNT. It doesn't matter if you're just an employee at some of these companies. Well, Founders Coffee, you got to be a founder, but TNT, if you want to share your knowledge, you want to give back, you want to learn more about what's going on. If you are looking to hire people now, or maybe not now, maybe in the future, it's a good time to start networking and start meeting these people and curating these relationships that will only be stronger in 1 month and 1 year.
Yeah, totally. People, when they're looking for a job, really are like, how can I get the job today? But the more they're willing to give and connect, the faster they find those roles.
Like that's probably the biggest takeaway right there. Like it's just, you have to get out there, you have to network, you have to, people hire people. I have lots of times someone will reach out and say, hey, do you know somebody? Absolutely, I know somebody. I will definitely recommend somebody that I know that I have met, that I've had coffee with, and saying, you know what? Yeah, and I know somebody who can get that. I'm going to introduce you to Zack. I'm going to introduce you to Denise. I'm going to introduce you to somebody that is out there that is going to also help you, find, whether that be find a job, make an introduction, or whatever it may be. So again, I can't stress how good we are at doing that here in Alberta.
Yeah, it's a great community to be part of.
Oh, absolutely. Now we come to our last question. We should have had part 1, and this should have been part 2. Carpool telling it like it is, and we should have finished that conversation here. But if you had one piece of advice for a person looking for a job in tech, what would that be?
One piece of advice?
The only one.
Oh, God.
They have to watch the show to get all the other piece of advice.
The one piece of advice, just don't be afraid to follow your curiosity. And this goes hand in hand. Maybe I'm saying two things, but just know that don't be the one that gets in the way of giving people the gift of you. I think too many people, it's confidence is probably the biggest issue of getting away from doing the things that we've talked about here. So know that you have a lot to give and you have a place, and don't get in the way of giving that gift to others.
I love that. And usually I end on that, but I might get your name wrong, but Gaurav Aurora, thanks for that comment on them. He's like, I am now a big fan and a follower of Cities and soon to be immigrant in Alberta, and I will be reaching out. So again, that's what telling it like it is for, is to putting it out there, to connecting people, to making sure that I know who to talk to now. I know where to go, and everything that you've done in Alberta and soon to be Western Canada. We appreciate it, Zack, and thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge, and doing what you do in Alberta.
Likewise, Jade. Thank you for hosting me, and thank you for all the work that you do as well.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words. And again, click on the website, careerandtech.ca. It's in the comments section. Tickets are on sale for the Alberta Technology Symposium. It is a great, great networking event. And I'm excited about that, April 26th and 27th in Alberta. So again, to help everybody has a great Wednesday, Zack, thank you again.